I want to kind of ask any of the women who were in the film, but I'll start with Helen because she's got a microphone. What the experience of being in this film meant to you?
You know, do I talk? Oh, okay. I liked it better, even more tonight than I did when I saw it. And I was going to watch it again before tonight, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. I had a couple reactions. Like one of them was, my God, Nell looks awesome in that film. I couldn't take my eyes off of her. The other thing is that, you know, just the notion of being, I guess, proud of your breasts, whether they're big or small or whatever, to kind of embrace who and what you are. Not always just in a physical sense, but in an emotional sense and in a spiritual sense. And that really comes out in this film when women talk about their breasts and how they feel about them. So I certainly felt that way.
So Lisa, what was the experience for you of being in this film?
Then, I think it was one of the most daring things that I had did at the time. I was like completely...
Have you done more daring things since then?
You know, from that, well, not to
it's like a gateway
but it was a gateway drug. It didn't make me try to do, you know, one daring thing, you know, a year at least to try to attempt, you know, not getting on the roads, but, you know, traveling by myself or, you know, just doing things that I wouldn't normally do for me to actually make it through all the taping and all the conversations, and I kind of, you know, I felt good afterwards. Yeah.
Shauna, I want to ask you, it's very poignant to watch this because your mother passed away a few years ago, and we all had, you know, such great fondness for her. What was the experience like for you to do this film and with your mom in addition?
Yeah, it was so fun. It was a great fun thing to do with my mom. She's my best friend, and I love doing stuff with her, and I wanted her to experience this and get the spotlight. And I noticed I didn't say a lot, and my energy was on her at the time. Even I don't remember. We shot a lot more footage, but it was a great thing to do, mother-daughter pair, and I was glad there was another mother-daughter pair, and we're kind of holding up the mother-daughter thing because Nell is in California.
Right.
And it was, you know, surprising. It was like really good to see her. I was nervous coming. I'm doing this complicated grief thing. It's been 3 years, and but so it's the first time like I've seen her. It's kind of, how fun is that to have like a film of your loved one? And it was so nice to see her. She was adorable.
She was, and we don't get that opportunity very often, like to look back like that. I'm glad you embraced that and that it was a nice experience for you.
Yeah, it was wonderful, and just to be part of it, just to share.
Let me go down to this end. Brigitte, how much in the past 15 years do you think about this film? Is it something that's a kind of distant memory for you?
Well, it's bizarre because I remember 15 years ago my friends saying, "Oh, I think you should, you know, try out for this film," and I remember filling out the questionnaire, just being a little sassy, and then I just can't believe 15 years later, and it just seemed for many years it just kept on airing and airing.
Right.
Friends from Australia and every part of the world,
too,
and
right? Would say, I think I saw
people I went out with for a moment, and you know, it was calling me, you know, just watching your film right now. You know, so, but it's been very positive.
On HBO at 2 o'clock in the morning. Is that you?
Yes. Two of my bosses were at a conference in Washington, D.C., and one of them calls the other and says, "You've got to turn on your TV. Helen's on TV. She's wearing a bra." And my doctor said, I went to see him one day, and he goes, "Girl, you didn't tell me you were a movie star." And I went, "Oh, no." So yeah, it's going to keep airing and airing.
I think the fun thing is that I think a lot of men, you know, if they're watching Cinemax, later they're like, breasts, we're going to watch that.
Yes.
And then I think they can be slightly horrified. It's completely non-sexy at all. I'm sure they get something out of it, but not what they intended.
Right, I totally agree with you. Yeah.
Karen, let me close the circle with you and your memories of the experience being in this film.
Well, I was just thinking about, especially hearing you talk about the boldness. I think at the time it didn't actually feel bold to me. And I remember going in to the set and it was you know, I think it was almost completely female run. I think there's a female, from my memory of it was the first professional setting I had been in where everybody's job was being filled by a woman. And it felt like this very blue light, and it was just really warm and positive, and it felt actually quite private, even though we were doing this sort of public exposing thing. And I don't think I fully appreciated actually the level of publicness. And I know that HBO wasn't involved maybe until a little bit further on, and so that it suddenly became quite public. And I at the time worked at an adolescent health center, you know, with a bunch of kids who frequented HBO, and so it suddenly was like, oh, much more exposed than I thought I would be. And it's interesting because I think people would encounter the cover in Blockbuster and have maybe a perception or an idea of it, having not watched it. And
You're
then
on the cover.
And I'm on the cover, yeah.
yeah, and that was
I was supposed to be on the cover, and I'm really glad that I wasn't, actually.
well, and I think to watch it is a different thing than to just assume what it might be about. And I think people would make a set of assumptions that I kind of felt like I was, you know, dodging. But it's really great to watch it again and to sort of see all of the important words and work and thinking that went into sort of dismantling a lot of the perceptions that people might otherwise have about a film about breasts.
And more at the time, our editor, I'd like to ask you just about the process of being in the edit room for this film, because I can remember Meema and I trying to explain to people what our idea for this was, and people not really getting that you're just going to have people, there's women that are just going to be talking. Can you talk about what it was like stringing these conversations together?
Well, Meema and I did spend many, many hours, weeks, and months, and so enjoyed working together. I think at the time we thought we would work together forever, because it was all a very rewarding experience. And it was rewarding because of the good storytelling that was coming out. So it really was searching for the stories and finding ways to put them in an order that would present a whole film as well as all the different storylines. So it took a long time, but all of you had such great presence and such great stories. It really was a joy to work on it, because often when you're doing documentaries, you can be struggling to find the stories and really wrestling with it. And there were moments of wrestle, but I think for the most part, we were just constantly finding great stuff that was coming together.
So, Meema, I wanted to ask you, you kind of have a different career now than filmmaking, but breasts are still very much a part of your career. Can you talk about what you do now?
I'm a lactation counselor and a postpartum doula, and I help women breastfeed all the time. So Leisha, I wish I could have been there in the hospital with you.
It really was.
Someday we'll
truly was
debrief.
horrible.
And I'm sorry that you didn't have a good lactation consultant with
Well,
you.
I did. My daughter's here now, so that was a totally different situation. I was determined I was going to stick my breast in her mouth and she was going to eat no matter what.
Yes, so I actually spend a lot of time now with women, talking to them about breastfeeding, helping them breastfeed, but also inevitably feelings about their breasts come up, and I don't reveal usually right up front that I've made this documentary, but it is funny to me, this connection that remains, and I don't think it's an accident. I don't know, it feels like it's connected in a lot of ways.
Let's take some of your, yeah, go ahead, Shauna.
Just that I really want to say, just feeling in the moment, these kudos to you and the crew. You did such an amazing job. It was, it was a risky sort of thing, and I answered Ann backstage, and so I just want to say the setup and you and the crew, and it was just so wonderful, and to be a part of something that's so good. I mean, I feel really proud of it. So I invited people like, oh, it's a good film. I mean, I made it cool, but it's a good film. It's important. And I just want to say on that tip, like, my mother was in a bra. She was in her bra when we were sitting down for the interview. And I don't know how you did it, but I think it was for you. You convinced her in this just warm, open, loving way that we'd love, you know, your eyes are sparkling, and we just love to see all of you,
Yeah,
or something.
She fed everybody to stop. She had to do it to me. I was in a bra for most of the interview, so even though you saw me braless, it was a long time before I took mine off.
So just really, it was a wonderful experience, so thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to say I miss Evelyn so much.
Yeah.
It was wonderful to see her tonight.
Yeah.
I thought so too. Yeah, it really was great.
And Meema has, she has Evelyn's big dining room table in her home.
Oh, good.
Which I feel really good about, knowing that you're eating off that in your family.